that's something that I'll kind of try and start my day with. And I know you come along to some of my Reiki sessions, and
I'm a
we'll
I'm
sometimes
a big
do.
fan. I have so much
Yeah.
admiration to you. I'm like, Jay, I talk to my friend, I'm like, Jay, she's like real life angel. She's just my girl. I really feel like we have a relationship, even though it's just
Yeah.
virtual. But
Yeah.
I started working with you at the beginning of the year, I think. And since that time, I really tried to join like weekly sessions because they really help me. And yeah, the last session, I cried so much. Oh my God, I just cried for like 3 hours. I was like,
Oh,
this is,
wow.
but I was like happy. It was a happy cry. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is beautiful that there is so many emotions that can come up during the session, even if it's like online. It's still beautiful.
I know,
And
isn't this crazy? Like, I
yeah,
can't believe that the way that we're all able to connect so deeply, even though
so
it's a virtual
beautiful.
space, it's so beautiful. It really is.
I'm forever grateful for that because otherwise it would be difficult in 2020 to sit without
Yeah.
Wi-Fi,
I
basically.
know. So alternative nostril breathing is a really good way to balance the masculine and feminine. I feel like you could do a mix of different yoga classes. Like you
Hmm.
could do kind of like, I'm not 100% sure this is like the exact way of doing it, but you know how
Hmm.
you get some, what's that yoga? I've not done yoga in such a long time.
Kundalini, is it not?
Kundalini's good for it, I
Uh-huh.
think. And what is, what's the power yoga? Is it just power yoga?
Mm, pranayama? Is it not pranayama?
Maybe.
No.
I'm trying to think of a yoga class I went to once, and it was like hot and sweaty and very, very like powerful, and like it was a special type of yoga, but I can't remember
Is it not just
exactly the
called
name of it
hot
now.
yoga?
No, no, it wasn't. It
No?
wasn't in a hot
Okay.
room. That's a
Hmm.
different thing. Okay, sorry, ignore me on that one. But um, I feel like specific yoga types would be really good. I feel like yin yoga would be really good for bringing out the feminine energy, and then something like a hot, fiery yoga would be
Mm.
really good for the masculine. So practices like that. You could also look into herbs. You can look into spells. Like I'm such a big fan of burning incense and burning
Oh,
oils in
yes.
the house,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I love the way that different scents can evoke different parts of the brain.
Mm.
And you know, like the citrus and the oranges are really good for energy motivation in the morning, and then you might
Mm-hmm.
want to use something a little bit more calming in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And my boyfriend actually makes candles, and
Oh,
he makes
wow.
candles with different scents for different parts of the day.
Uh-huh.
And oh my god, it's like my favorite thing. It's like my favorite
That's
thing ever.
such a cool idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing. Um,
yeah.
do you think that we all have physic abilities?
Yes, I do. I really do. I believe we all do, but I think that a lot of people don't want to.
Mm, they are scared. They are scared of.
Yeah, and a lot
I
of
was very scared. I was terrified. I was like,
yeah,
I don't want to go that way because it's scary.
yeah. I think people can be scared of the idea of something bigger than us. I think people can be
Mhm.
scared of the idea of, you know, what happens after you are no longer on the earth plane, and like what does that look
Mhm.
like and how does that manifest? And I think people are scared of accepting that. Some people want to throw themselves headfirst into it. Like myself, I've always been fascinated by it and want to learn about it.
Mhm.
But it does come with, you are scared of it too, because it can
Yeah.
feel like very unknown and very foreign.
Very
Um,
like out of your control, and some people
out of your
just
control
don't like
completely.
losing control over the things. Yeah.
Yes, completely. And I think everyone has an ability to feel energy, to be receptive to energy, but a lot of people don't want to. I mean, people come to tarot readings and you know, will say things to me like, "Oh, I don't really believe in this. Like, can you convince me?" And
Mm,
I'm like, "Well, no, because if you're not going to be receptive to it, you're
yeah.
if you've got a wall up and you've got a door closed
Mhm.
on tarot and you don't believe that tarot is true, it's not going to work for you that way. You've got
Mhm.
to be receptive to the energy. Same with
Mhm.
Reiki. If you don't come to Reiki and believe in the energy field and believe that you can be healed through Reiki, it's going to be very, very difficult. You've got to be receptive and surrender. And that's what it
Yeah.
comes down to. It's trusting and surrendering into just that there is something else.
Mhm. I don't think that it works if you don't believe in it. Um,
No,
no,
I
it's
don't
just
either.
you're not aligned, and if you're just doing for fun and for trying and to see like how it goes, then I don't really see much sense of doing it.
Yeah.
Have you ever said no to like tarot reading to someone or Reiki healing?
I haven't said no. No, I haven't said no. Um, But I have said to people, maybe it isn't the right time for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to not I wouldn't I think in the future, and I've said like I'll pick up in the future, we can just pause it here. This is another thing about my boundaries. Like I've got quite loose
Mm-hmm.
boundaries when it comes to like payment and stuff because I am not really driven by money. Like I want people to have a good experience.
Yeah.
So if I can see that somebody is like deeply struggling and they're not willing to accept the energy that's coming up or something that's being said, then I would rather just give that person time for them to go, because we've got to remember that everyone is on their growth journey and that's so different.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, I wouldn't have been in a place to hear the things that I'm willing to accept and hear now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everyone's got to get there in their own time and you can't force people, you can't rush. But certain things will come up with tarot. I believe the tarot are a big window into the soul, a big mirror into
Mm-hmm.
the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, a card might come up that says, do you need to do some shadow work? You might have some fears, limiting beliefs, insecurities around your purpose, and you're not following your purpose. Let's just say that one.
Mm-hmm.
And that person's like, no, no, I don't have any insecurities. I'm totally fine,
That would be me in
Then
the
you're just
past.
like,
Yeah, I would be like,
yeah,
no.
you're just like, okay, well, that's good. But the cards are saying that you've maybe got behavior patterns to
Mm-hmm.
work on.
Mm-hmm.
No, me and my partner are so happy. I'm so happy in my life. And then you're like, okay, that's great, but
Yeah.
later on in the reading you might find out that that actually isn't the case, but the person just isn't really ready to like be receptive to that acknowledgement yet. So
Mm-hmm.
in that case, I would never force somebody. I would never put them in an uncomfortable position. I would just say, look, I think you need some figuring out to do. I would recommend maybe going to speak to a therapist or doing some
Mm-hmm.
meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to me in 6 months and I'll give you a free session and let's see where you're at with your
Mm-hmm.
energy then. And I've done that with a few people, and then they've came back in 6 months and they've made a big life change. They've quit their job,
Oh.
or they've got a new relationship, or
Mm-hmm.
they've left a relationship, and then they're like, you were right, I wasn't ready to hear it. So it's just
Oh, that's
it's a
beautiful.
journey. It's a journey.
Yeah,
But
sure.
the only thing that I would say no to, which I've said no to a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
is people wanting me to figure out like when they might die or
Mm.
anything around the death
Death
scenario. It's
card. Yeah, death card. I wanted to ask about death card because people are
Yeah,
very scared. I personally like death card because I'm like,
yeah. The
it's
death
the
card
it's the end
doesn't.
of something. Yeah.
Yeah, but the death card will very, 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 very rarely ever mean death,
Mm-hmm.
like physical death, like you're going to die, somebody you know is going to die. It doesn't mean that. It just indicates the end of a chapter, the end of a part of
Mm-hmm.
something, and you need to evolve and you need to grow. And just like the seasons, just like the lunar cycle, just like life, everything moves in a cycle, and we've got to be prepared to let go of the old to make space for the new. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what the death card represents. But I wouldn't feel comfortable talking to somebody about, or even asking the cards like when,
Oh, you're gonna die. Like this is
how,
so
when,
bad.
because I just
Yes.
don't delve into anything like
No.
that. It's just not my vibe.
No, no. And that should be a guidance. That should be another tool that you use in your life, not telling you when you're gonna lose someone you love or
Yeah,
someone's gonna
and
die. Like
I honestly don't think the cards could even.
do
I
that.
don't
Yeah.
believe the cards could even do
Mm,
that. Like I
I don't think
certainly
so.
don't think, no matter how hard I tried, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I could predict that. Anyway, I think that's one thing that I'm really strong about, is like staying away from the classic kind of fortune teller aesthetic,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that people can come to tarot and they want to know, dates and times and exact moments that
Yeah.
something's going to happen. But we've got to remember that we like co-create. So the tarot are the tarot are guiding you on your path, but they're not cementing your path.
Mm-hmm.
They're guiding you. So you can make changes.
I remember my mom's got a reading when she was younger. She had it once and she said to me recently, she was like, oh, she told me that I'll be a rich person. I was like, but did you take any actions? Like you need to do something. Like
Yeah.
not crystals or cars. They will never, nobody's gonna knock to your door being like, hey, hello, here's your perfect partner, or here is your new car, here is your money. It just
That is
doesn't work
exactly
like that. You need to do something. So that's when you can use tarot as a guidance. And yeah, it's just so
that is
funny.
exactly it. That is exactly it. Like the tarot are never gonna be able to say like, okay, you need to go to this interview and say this.
Tomorrow, yeah,
People,
at 10 a.m.
yeah, you've got to you've got to do it for yourself. They're just saying
Mhm.
to you that the potential's there. You've got the potential, but you have to take the action for sure.
What does it mean when tarot cards are reversed? Is it mean is it a bad meaning or
So I
opposite meaning to the
currently
card?
I currently don't read with reverse. I think I
Mhm.
might introduce it again in the future. I have kind of changed how I read because at the moment how I'm reading is I keep all the cards upright. When cards are reversed, cards have got another meaning. So both the card, each individual card has two separate meanings, reversed and
Yeah,
upright.
yeah.
Um, I would love to be able to include reverses in my readings again, but I feel like the route that I was trying to, or I imagined taking with tarot,
Mhm.
is that I'd love it not to even be in any way, as we just discussed, like people coming to me as like a fortune teller, prediction
Mhm.
based readings. I'd love it to be seen as more of like a psychology
Yes,
empowerment
yes.
guide.
Mhm.
So when I read tarot, I'm really using it alongside like Reiki, crystal work, energy work, and saying to this person, like, this is like your fullest potential. This is what's holding you back. This is how you need to grow, this is where to let go, etc. And at the moment I feel like I get enough out of reading upright, and you know there's something that I do need to let go of with the reverse, which is just like some of the messages can be a little bit more hard hitting, and some of them can be a little bit more like, I guess I could just say a little bit more intense.
Mhm.
And I think I'm still working on where I want the business to go, because
Mhm.
I've noticed that I'm trying to do, a positive mental health support. I'm trying to use the tarot in a way that empowers you. And I don't want people to leave feeling anything. There's sometimes messages that come up that are hard hitting, you need to pay attention to this, red
Mhm.
flags. And I love being able to guide somebody through a journey with that. So I, yeah, I guess I'm on my own journey with it
Yeah, I
alongside
feel
it.
like, especially like online these days, it's nice to have all of the positivity and all of the positive accounts,
Yeah.
but it got me as well. I was like, it's nice to show my positive side of myself, but the true me, the real me experience, like, I cry sometimes, and that's
Of
okay. That's
course.
okay to show that as well, even though I think that's the power of the positivity, really, when we show the true
Yeah.
self, not like the only the good side, only when I'm like smiling and laughing, but also when I cry, because that more people can like relate to me, and that's positive as well. Because
Yeah.
I don't try to hide it.
So I feel like with reading tarot completely upright, I actually feel like you can get such a varied reading. Like you can still get
Mm-hmm.
messages which are, as I said, warning flags. You need red flags, warning signs. You need to change. You need to let go of something. I feel like you can get a full enough reading with it all being upright. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I might introduce again in the
Mm-hmm.
future, but for now, while it's online, I'm just keeping it like this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
What would be the one thing that you would change in our world?
That's a really good question.
Mm.
One thing that I would change. Pain.
Pain. What would you do with pain?
Pain. I I really feel just like so helpless with so much stuff. I would change,
Mm-hmm.
in order to change the pain, I would have to change something bigger than that. I would probably change the I don't know what I would replace it with, but I would get rid of things like the government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I feel like the reason that there's so much pain and so much separation from the rich and the poor and
Mm-hmm.
everything like that is because of like a select handful of like 1% or 5% or whatever they call it
Yeah.
at the top who are controlling finances and wealth. And the rich people who have got money, don't they forget that other people exist. I see it in so many
I
countries.
personally think that people that work in government should be paid like the minimum wage, and they should really
Yeah.
feel the calling to help others, because that's you support people, you should be supporting people, and you
I,
should really feel the need to be out there to
Yeah.
help people if we all want to live in the democracy. But I don't
I
see it.
just I
It
just
doesn't
look
feel
at
the
like
same.
I just look at I've been on holiday to places before
Mhm.
and just felt so uncomfortable, the most uncomfortable I've ever felt.